Greetings and salutations. Welcome to this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Before we begin, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share the show with a friend. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. My guest today is a playwright, director, theatrical reviewer, and journalist. His plays include Ball of String, Veil, Lady Well, Nightmare, Pubs and Publications, Jane Austen Ruptured My Spleen, and a noir-styled one-act featuring the characters of A.A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh and the 100-Acre Woods. His play Poetry on the Menu was selected as a radio play to be aired in November with Open Door Playhouse in Los Angeles. He was also a finalist in the Owl Lab contest in New Bedford, Massachusetts. And Jane Austen's Ruptured My Spleen was given an honorarium and a June stage reading at Lava Center in Greenfield, Massachusetts. He's an English and American literature major from Harvard University. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome James Merolla.
Wow, thank you, sir. I don't know.
My pleasure. Now, real quick, I've got a question because I did past tense. Is that honorarium and June stage reading, is that past or is that coming up?
Past. That's
okay.
Past.
Okay.
I was one of, I think, a half dozen plays that won the contest.
All right. Well, let's jump into that then. How did you fall into that?
So,
how did you search that out? In
this last chapter of my life, James, after 40 years as a journalist, and I still write 4 or 5 stories a week in Newport, Rhode Island. I had written plays many years ago, but I'm not in the club, and you know the club better than I. And the club's a pretty exclusive club. I'm not an actor. I don't have representation. I'm not in New York. I'm not in LA. I'm not in the club. So, they didn't go anywhere for whatever reason at that time. And so I raised my children and got back to it about 3 years ago. And plays just started. When I used to direct high school, the most satisfying moments I ever had was when I would go through a script and find a moment that I could improve visually. I would do something to the play visually. For instance, we did a production of Look Homeward Angel, and there's a giant Carrara marble angel on the stage. Well, you can't buy a Carrara marble angel. You can't make one. So you can't sculpt one. What do? So I went to Spooky World, which is a horror show in Foxborough, Mass, where I bartended a long time ago. And I got the actors to come down and paint the actress as stone. So we got an actress to stand on a mark and not move through a 23-minute scene and become the angel. And then I said, we can't have this girl be the angel and not come to life. We've done all this. So I added something where the drunken brother collapses, and the last line of Act 1 is, he looks up to the angel and he says, and still you smile. So I put a light behind her. Boom, she comes to life. She wraps him in his wings. The audience screamed, lost their minds, and buzzed for about 5 minutes. That's not in the script. And I sat in the corner of the theater and went, yay, because I had come up with that. Why am I telling you this? Some people will say classical music is the best art. Some people will look at a great painting and it will move them, or it will get to them, or they'll try to decipher it. Whatever, depending on whatever their definition of art is. For me, the best art is theater. There's nothing as visceral, nothing as raw, nothing as wonderful as live theater done well. Great theater. It just stays with you for life. At least it did for me. So Sure. Now, writing, this last chapter of my life, writing plays and trying to be heard. I think that's what prompted this call from you to be on your podcast. I wrote in an email, look, man, I'm just an old playwright trying to be heard. And you said, yeah, that's stuck with me. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So I'm just trying to be heard. So after my life now, it's a part-time job, James, scouring the internet for contests.
Sure.
To submit plays. I'm like 1,000 others out there, 10,000. Trying to submit a plays. They're restrictive. It's hard to get your play into the contest. they limit them. And we can talk about that later, how frustrating that is. But anyway, after about 280 rejections, I got an email from you that said, you're interesting. Maybe we can do a podcast. And then that week, I got an email from Bernadette Armstrong to record my one act, Poetry on the Menu. And then I got an email from the Lava Center that Jane Austen Ruptured My Spleen they found it to be absurdly funny. And the premise is, if you haven't figured it out, 150 years of women have been, in my mind, ruined by the false idyllic notions of romance perpetuated in Jane Austen novels. The ridiculousn's, the perfect love, the knight who's coming in. Disney movies did the same thing to my generation of women. So I wrote this one act where this woman who was just obsessed with the novels of Jane Austen gave it all up and became a punk prison guard. And it starts out with a monologue of how she went from these, silly notions of romance to realism. And there's a few surprises in it. So they thought it was a hoot, and they did it, and it went very well. Just a reading, just a stage reading. I was hoping, again, to see it done, but it has not been done yet.
That's right. Hey, stage readings they're a start, and we all have to begin somewhere. So were you just Googling all these opportunities? Is that what's going on, or know?
Yeah, you scour the internet and you find contests. I'd say 80% of them you're not going to even get a shot, maybe 90% to even submit your play, because I tell you, James, it's not difficult enough, right? It's not a 1 in a million chance to get your play done, like really done on stage. Now I'm grandpa, get off my lawn. And I'm trying to sell these plays to millennials generally, who are they're like embryonic to me. From the pandemic on, James, as you know, theater took a blow, a massive hit.
Yeah.
The blue hairs did not want to sit, the blue hairs with the deep pockets did not want to sit in a petri dish of 400 seats with masks next to other blue hairs, and they stopped coming. At the same time, correct me if I'm wrong, please, because you're in the scene, you're there. Theater started, in my opinion, what do they call it? Reimagining classics. So Shakespeare's Hamlet is now played by an 18-year-old Hispanic girl. Yeah. You understand?
Yeah.
I reviewed a production of A Christmas Carol. The Scrooge was played by a 6'5", 24-year-old black man. The Cratchits look like the United Nations. Frederick, the niece, was Frederica in an interracial gay relationship. I'm pointing this out to only tell you that theater said, we're going to take it. We're going to do what we want to do. We're going to do what we want to do. So that made someone like me, a traditionalist who grew up with the giants, Beckett, Albee, Williams, O'Neill, who see theater as character development and great ideas, in depth, to 8-minute plays. Please submit your 8-minute play on this subject. You must be a BIPOC, or you must be a queer author, or you must be a female author, or you must only live in Appalachia. You must have one eye in the middle of your forehead. These are the requirements of the playwrights. James, there was a theater, they wanted 1-minute plays, 1-minute plays that had not been published. Okay? You know what I did? I sent them my grocery list from the prior week. I sent them my grocery list and then followed up with an email. I said, oh God, you can't do this play. I shopped last weekend. I went shopping. That's how hard it is. So 90% of the theaters you can't even get in. When you do get in, it's a 1 in 800 shot.
Sure.
1 in 900 shot.
Yeah.
So
and
I scour to try to find contests that will read my work.
Sure, 100%. And I get it. I completely understand where you're coming from. But I find that this kind of same thing comes into play in film and television, to where you can still you can still tell the same story, but it doesn't have to be the same story. Just rewrite it, featuring these new characters, and it's, I don't know, it's a sensitive topic and subject matter where I'm just like,
they don't want to deal with me. I'm grandpa. I told you.
Sure.
And I
yeah.
pointed it out.
So I'm a traditionalist in certain aspects as well. It's like I want to hear those things, but it's like
your contest, James. Your contest.
Yeah.
I am not Agatha Christie. I am not Dashiell Hammett. I don't write noir. If I wrote a straight noir, you would kick me in the shins. I go to the absurd. So
sure.
What I went to, and in your contest, I don't know if it was you who posted it or one of your associates.
No, I did. I did.
You don't give us the same. I don't want to read the same kind of, setup, even though it's noir and it's a formula. I don't want to, don't give me the same sort of thing. So I had just happened to notice that week that the Winnie the Pooh characters were in public domain. Oh, and I said, oh, this tickles my absurd notions. That's where I go. So when I thought of Eeyore as the laconic detective, and Rabbit as the drug addict, and Piglet as the snitch, and Kanga as the femme fatale, Tigger as the bouncer, Owl as the Sydney Greenstreet fat man who sits
100%, yeah.
I said, this writes itself. Yeah. I wrote it in 6 weeks, and I sent it off to you. That's when you say rewrite. Well, I took a genre and went into this direction because, James, I have two beautiful sons, and one of them is an animator. He's a comic book artist. He's terrific. And I'll never forget when he was 14, he had come up with a post-apocalyptic character called the Postman, not the bad Kevin Costner movie.
Which I saw in the theater, not to age myself.
This was a concept, and it was beautifully drawn, although he had a mailbox for a head and didn't speak. I said, Jack, this is going to be problematic if you plan to make this an extended run. But anyway, it was a character who still delivered the mail, Pony Express style, on a horse in this post-apocalypse. He was 14. It was a pretty good idea. So we went to a comic book store called The Time Capsule. I'll give it a plug in Seekonk, Massachusetts. It's, by the way, I swear to God, it's run by Comic Book Guy from The Simpsons. Comic Book Guy is alive at the Time Capsule in Seekonk, Massachusetts, but that's another story. Anyway, we walked in, James. We walked in, and I watched my son's face drop a little bit because there was 1,200 new comic books titles, all or virtually all post-apocalyptic. And I said, wow, the Greeks said 7 ideas. Everything's a variation of 7 ideas.
Sure.
How's this kid going to come up with something with all these decades of comic books? How's he going to be heard? How is he going to be noticed? It's tough. It's tough.
No, 100%. And look, I mean, this podcast is a testament to it. It's a niche, playwriting isn't always, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's more common than I realize. I mean, like nowadays, I mean, like as I've done this, like there's a lot out there, and it's putting out Play Noir, call for submissions. It's amazing how many different people kind of come out, and it's great because also at the same time it's like you're getting different, not just perspectives, you're getting different levels. People that, for you, for instance, I mean, how long have you been at it?
Well, as I said, I wrote, when I was 23 years old, James, I wrote a musical version of The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay. This is 100 years ago, but I will proudly tell you, I think I was the first. Okay. Well, not in the club. Sure. So it didn't go anywhere. And then how many musical versions are there of The Hunchback of Notre Dame now?
Fair enough.
30. Yeah. Do you know how I know that? There's a website devoted to musicals written about The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And all 30 are there. Disney's, the guy from Styx, he wrote one. The one that ran in Vegas for 2 years. Every version is there except mine. Okay. But I only pointed out that even that one subject, 30 versions. It's
Sure.
hard. Yeah.
Where I'm going to put you on the spot in that regard. Where do you think that lies?
Where do I think what lies?
In the regards to why yours isn't and not in the club?
Well, I didn't. I let time go by.
Fair enough.
For family matters, for the real world,
Sure.
to pay the mortgage and make a living in Rhode Island. And by the time I'd rewritten it, well, first of all, I thought it was wonderful. It was horrible, James. It was awful. It was awful. It was talk, 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 song, talk, 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 song. Then I saw the only Broadway show I've ever seen is Sweeney Todd.
Okay.
Okay. The greatest musical ever written. Just the greatest lyrics. Oh my God. So for 2 hours and 25 minutes, I sat in Manhattan Theater like this. And I went home and I tore my musical to pieces and I turned it into an operetta where I think it was really good. But again, it didn't go anywhere. They were afraid to take a chance. But I'll tell you something interesting. And then I waited too long and now there are 30 versions and that's that.
Sure.
But I'll tell you something interesting and disappointing. I've covered professional theater as a theater reviewer in newspapers and magazines since 1991. I've written hundreds of reviews. I've gotten to know the actors in Rhode Island. I've gotten to know the directors and the producers. Some of them are friends. None of them have helped. And that has been very hurtful to me. It's like, oh, you wrote a play. Good luck with that. After I'd maybe reviewed them 400 times. You can't even read it. You can't even read it and tell me it's the worst piece of crap you've ever read. You don't. I can't get that courtesy after 35 years of writing about you guys. I sent a second musical I wrote, an original musical, to Trinity Repertory Company. And I think his name was Craig Watson, I think. He was the literary manager. He wrote me a beautiful note years ago. He said, this is delightful, wonderful, filled with all the music styles of the 20th century. And we'll never do it because we don't do original musicals. We can't take a chance. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Not true. Not true. They did 2 in the next 7 years. Why? Because they were written by their artistic directors. And this is what you find. There's another prominent theater in Rhode Island. I wrote a play I thought he would just adore. He's a great guy. I've known him 15 years. He said, James, you're right. We need new voices. And I'm sure your work is good. But we can't take a chance after the pandemic. We have to. They did Angels in America last year. We have to do name shows. We can't take the risk. And we're not going to do any original shows. Not true. Guess what their next show is? One written by him. So again, James, I know this. I don't want to sound petty. But you can tell it's frustrating. I'm not in the club. It's an exclusive group.
Well, yeah. But you haven't given up, and I think that's the important part.
No, I have not given up.
And it goes back to the old adage, George Carlin. There's a club and you're not in it.
No, Groucho Marx.
Groucho Marx, that too. Yes, him as well.
The exact quote is, I would never become a member of a club. No, I would not join a club that would have me for a member. Yes,
exactly. And Carlin has there's a club and guess what? You ain't in it. There's the combination of the both.
But I tell you though, I still get a thrill. Sherman, Connecticut, Sherman Players, and I want to give a shout out to Morgana Kate Watson. She's a playwright and actress, and they've read excerpts of 3 of my plays there that were received well. They read 20 minutes of my play Lady Well, which is based on a true story. And then, by the way, that's my method. I like to take, in my algorithm, I'll get these obscure true stories.
Right.
And then I spend my time Googling and searching, has there ever been a play on this? No. Has there ever been a play on this? Sort of. Has there ever been a play on this? Yes, but they did this. Okay. So I can write that. That's the first thing I do because of the Hunchback.
That's great.
So,
yeah, sure.
They had never written about this person, Marianne Bevan, true story, heartbreaking story, courageous story, a British story. And they started reading from it, and they assigned 2 actors. I'll never forget this. They assigned 2 actors. They couldn't read the first scene. They just could not read. And I'm sitting there like this.
Literally couldn't read, like they're like illiterate, or they just
I told them this is Cockney. They couldn't do Cockney, so they read it in New Jersey. And when it came to the word AYE, instead of saying I, they went A. So I was like, I was cringing in the audience. But then the second scene came, and the young Cockney nurse nailed the first line. She just nailed it. And I just involuntarily screamed, "Good," from the audience. But as we got about 20 minutes in, there was a woman from Northern Africa sitting in the third row. I'll never forget this. When the lines hit home, she was going, like she was in church, and having a religious experience or whatever.
Right, sure.
And then she screamed and said, "This has got to be on stage, man. This is a play. This has got to be on stage." And that was worth 6 months of rejection. That 12 seconds. So
sure,
that's
absolutely. Has your reviewing theater affected your playwriting? Has it helped it, and how so?
Yes. Was it Emily Dickinson who said, "I cannot define good writing. I only know that when I read it, my head explodes"? I believe that's the quote. Maybe I'm paraphrasing. Okay. One of the greatest quotes in the English language, sure, as far as I'm concerned. And I know that. That's the from the woman in the third row.
Sure.
I've seen a lot of bad plays. And in theater companies that were professional theater companies, and I would sit there and ask, why did they pick this show? Is it because there's only 3 actors and they're trying to save money? Because it's a unit set? Because you didn't have to build a giraffe that moves? Is that why they picked this show? It's not. I saw a play. This company was struggling, and they went out of business the next year. Equity House, mostly musicals, and their musicals were fantastic, but their straight plays were not. And they picked a show about Vince Lombardi, and in the middle of the show, there's a scene for, I think it was about 15-minute scene over contract negotiations with a player. I can't think of a more boring theater scene in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to run for the exits, that's how to do it. Start talking about percentages of the bonus. 15 minutes this scene. And I said, wow. So it didn't necessarily lead me to good writing, but it made me recognize bad writing on stage.
Yeah.
And I've directed a lot of plays. So one of the most fun thing in the world is to get scripts and read them to decide, first of all, whether my college or high school or community theater was going to do the play, if it was right for us. And secondly, just to read them. I just love reading them.
No, 100%. That's been a reoccurring subject, topic, story in my world where, when I first started writing, which started with screenplays. And again, I apologize for listeners that have heard this story a zillion times.
Oh, come on. Shine, James, shine.
So I was always told, go read screenplays. And so I'd go to Barnes & Noble, I'd go to Bookstore, and I'd buy, Good Will Hunting. I'd buy Henry Fool, Cider House Rules, 7, all of it. And I'm like, okay, I didn't learn anything. You didn't teach me anything. I just read this, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what makes it good.
But
and then when I started reading, I was a guest reader for a private high school here in LA, and then was a original one act reviewer for a high school theater festival where I'm from in Sacramento. And it wasn't until all those things. Oh, and then when I started doing Noir, the Noir festival, and started getting submissions, I'm like, okay, once you start reading the bad stuff, you start realizing what makes the good stuff great.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's huge. So I completely agree with you because, yeah. So I'm right there with you in that regard. So I can see how going and reviewing those shows can, I know why this doesn't work, and now I know how to affect it, how it will work with mine. I want to touch base on something you were talking about earlier when you were, and it's going to be a touchy subject. I'm going to put you on the spot again for a little bit.
Thanks, James.
Because there was that piece that you had done in high school, and you decided to make some changes to it. With the statue coming to life, it wasn't really in the script. Directorial thing, but there was still some changes that you made to a playwright's work, which I get, and I'm just coming from a place where, like, other playwrights that I've interviewed who have talked about like directors like changing their work, changing their lines, getting rid of all the stage directions to where it completely changed the story to where like they removed a stabbing. There was a stabbing that took place.
No.
And they removed it. And the playwright went and was like, why? What happened to the stabbing? He's like, we just crossed out all the stage directions. So I get where you're coming from, but from a playwright's point of view, from a director and a playwright's point of view, how would you, what's your perspective if somebody changed your work?
Well, communication is everything.
Okay.
But before I tell you, I would be open to it.
Sure.
One of the reasons I probably haven't gone anywhere yet, James, in this is that I do not have a big ego. I don't. It's a left brain, right brain thing. That's why playwrights and actors have agents, because let them do that stuff. Because I do not sell myself well. I don't. Sure. I can have a conversation with you because you're me in many ways, and I feel very comfortable. But sure. Selling myself, I want the work to do it. But anyway, no problems as long as it can be explained to me why this works better. In fact, Jane Austen Ruptured My Spleen, the director was a literature professor from UMass Amherst, heavyweight school in Massachusetts. And she said, the quotes in the middle are too long. I've cut them in half. I want to run them by you. She was right. She said, I think you should add opium to that funny line at the end. That would really set it off, the word opium, not the actual chemical.
Sure.
And she was right. So I listened to those things, and her changes improved the play.
And I'm sorry, who was this again?
I'm sorry?
Who was this again? Who did this?
This was the director, and I'm blanking on her name.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. All right, great.
This was 6 months ago, but she was terrific.
Okay, great. So on that note,
hold on. But getting back to Look Homeward Angel, I added an effect. I didn't change a line. I added an effect to make it better. Now, I did this only 2 other times. I've directed, I think, almost 60 plays. I've only done it 2 other times. One was a play called Stardust. Are you familiar with that, about method acting with a crazy Russian school, crazy Russian method director in the 60s? This Broadway actor shows up with these kids who are nasty, nasty method actor playwright kids. They do a joint production of Anthony and Cleopatra, and they ruin her on stage. She comes off the stage sobbing, her makeup, she looks like a drowned raccoon. They've destroyed her. And she's crying to her friend, they hate me. Well, one of the kids is really, really snippy. And then she leaves the stage, and they're all supposed to come on in their togas, which is a funny laugh because you didn't see them in the play, backstage. And then the really snippy one who really hates her, after everyone else talks, has a line that's really funny. Well, it wasn't really landing. So I said, Matthew, God rest his soul, he died at 23. Great kid. Matthew, I said, this has got to be funnier. And I how to do it. I worked for the Sun Chronicle, it was a newspaper. They had a big sun costume, okay? I said to the publisher, I said, Rusty, can I borrow this sun costume? I'll take good care of it. I put this kid in this sun, it was hilarious with the rays and all that. I said, Matthew, don't come on with the rest of the kids. The stage directions say you come in together. Wait, let them say their lines, and then say your line, which was, do you think we went too far? So when he comes on with the sun costume, James, I put a stopwatch on it. 30-second laugh. 30-second laugh. So it's just my instincts to make something that was funny funnier. I don't change lines. I just
No, that's fair enough, and I apologize for that, for the misinterpretation, because like I think taking a directorial interpretation is always, I mean, that's a given. I remember there was one year we did produce a couple times a playwright who had a tendency to overwrite, and the cast would like, we're going to do this, like let's change this, let's change. I'm like, no, that's not our place. No, it's your job. No, it's not my job to go and rewrite another playwright's work. If it doesn't work, we go to the playwright and said, hey, these are some things that we're having issues with. It's too long. It's not landing. It's repetitious. Let's rework it, and it's just interesting how actors don't really sometimes get that aspect,
If I ever got to the point where I'd be honored and privileged enough to get my work fully realized on the stage, and you're the actor in the lead, and you say, James, I don't think he should say this, X. It's not in his character. You should say, "What? Let's do it. Sure. Let's try it." Always. By the way, did you direct high school?
I have, yeah. Private high school.
Did you ever bring a playwright? Did you ever bring the playwright to the rehearsal with the kids?
Yes, I was lucky enough for that. Well, Noir, not so much for the most part, because a lot of playwrights in Noir were either across country, out of state, out of town, so they weren't always privy to be a part of rehearsals, but we'd always reach out, and I'd always say, hey, look, can we do this? Can we do that? But continue, please.
So I did it once, and I almost cried for a week. Are you familiar with the play The Boys Next Door? About damaged group home?
I'm familiar with it. I don't know if I've ever read it or seen it.
Great play. And the author lived in Barrington, Rhode Island, where we were doing the play at Barrington High School. And he called me. He'd been in a bad mood about 23 years, James. He was a curmudgeon, okay? I didn't know any of this. So the kids are doing a fine job, I thought. He shows up for the rehearsal. She's too pretty to play Sheila. He's too loud. He's annoying me. Oh my God, he just ripped these kids to pieces.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there going, they're 16 years old. They're 16 years old. Come on. So they were mortified. And so I went off like a football coach, which is one of the reasons people don't think I have a long athletic background. People don't think I'm a playwright because I still look like a linebacker. It's like, I don't know what playwrights are supposed to look like, but I guess they're supposed to look like Arthur Miller with the glasses.
Sure.
Or Samuel Beckett. I don't look like that. So, but anyway, I said, he's nuts. I know he wrote this, and I know he knows it. But we're going to do the best damn version of this play. And I tried to bring him way up. So anyway, opening night, he comes to the show. Okay. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, should I tell the kids? If I tell the kids, no, right? They're going to be, so I don't say a word. So they did a phenomenal job. And he came backstage, and I don't think he was being polite. I think he was sincere. He was like, you surprised me. I didn't think you were going to get there. You surprised me. And these kids, I'm telling you, man, you could have lit a match off their chest after that. They were flying. So those are the kinds of things you never know, but they shape your experiences. They shape your writing. They shape how you see things and how you approach writing a scene. Yeah. At least for me.
Well, you can't judge a rehearsal prior to performance. You know what I mean? Like, you got to wait till the performance to really can make that judgment to where this didn't work or, whatnot. Yeah, apparently. Yeah. But I mean, I guess, going back to the old not the adage, it's the Playwrights Bill of Rights. You guys have a right to be at rehearsals. You have a right to be part of the casting and any rewrites and stuff like that. And I understand it on both ends. Like, there's got to be that autonomy to be able to make creative choices, but it's got to be at the playwright's discretion as well. So there's that, that's even keel, if you will.
I have not. I don't anticipate that to be an issue. I hope not.
No, again, I think it goes back to. I think it goes to egos. You've established that you don't have one, and you're open to changes.
Everyone has one, but I don't have one that would be an impediment. Believe me, it would not be an impediment.
So the question that I have for you is because you had the director that came to you and okay, well, here, I think let's make this cut in the middle. Let's do this. When you get to a draft that you're happy with, what's your next step? Do you submit it, or do you grab some people to start reading it so you can hear it? What's your process in that once you get to a comfortable place?
You kind of broke up, but I think I got the gist of that.
Okay.
When I get to a draft I'm happy with, do I submit it? Do I have a reading? Do I get the bugs out?
Yeah. Sorry, we
Always
got the
wanna get a
rain here in LA
Always
that's
wanna
finally
get a
kicking in. What's that?
I'm sorry, you kept breaking up. Always want to get a reading, always, because as you know, as an actor, as a director, as a writer, you know better than I. You write a line, you think it's great, and it falls flat. It doesn't work. And by the same token, an actor can take a little bit of nothing in between the lines. You know, he puts the vase down. He can make that into a comic masterpiece. So the rehearsals, obviously, and the red pencil in the margin, not a problem. Not a problem. But I can tell you, James, I've written so many stories as a journalist since I was 17. I sold my first story to a national magazine when I was 18 years old. I'm my own editor. I'm vicious with myself. And I really think when I submit a draft, there's not a lot of fat on it. It may not work in terms of time. You might have a 30-minute window and it's a 40-minute play. I get that. But aside from that, I'm not married to much. And enough critiques have come my way where I have learned that they're valuable and they help.
Sure.
They help.
Well, in that regard, I'm like, let's go back. You know, you had kind of mentioned, and not to rub salt in the wound by any means, but you know, I think you said 280 rejections. So what advice do you have for, you know, emerging playwrights?
James, 4 successes.
Well, and that's great, you know, and you should. I mean, definitely, because rejections don't mean a thing. The successes are what matters, and you can't hang on to the rejections. You just have to keep plugging away. So what's your advice to dealing with those, or accepting those, as far as, you know, rejections go?
It's hard.
Yeah.
If you're sensitive, if you're a bookish kind of sensitive person, it can wreak havoc. You start doubting your talent. That was the worst thing.
Yeah.
I started doubting my ability. I started doubting my talent. I said, maybe I'm not any good. Maybe they're all right, and I'm not any good. I have two great, 3 or 4 actually, but 2 close friends. One's a former student of mine who lives in Sacramento, by the way.
Nice.
Didn't you say you're from?
I did.
Sacramento?
23 years I was there.
So his name is Patrick McGoy. Hey, Patrick. He reads all my stuff. And then Nicole Davis, an actress, brilliant young actress, gave it up, raising her boys, went corporate, and I still hold that against her. I'm trying to have her make a comeback. They're in my corner, and they're both too nice. I mean, I've always said about Nicole, if she was in charge of World War II, she'd have thanked the Japanese for coming, okay? So I need them to be a little meaner. And I tell them, you can't love every word in this play. It's just, and she's like, wouldn't touch a thing. Wouldn't touch a thing. Patrick's like, oh my God, wouldn't touch a thing. I've run it by other actors. I don't know, several. Wouldn't touch a thing. So when I get those 4 words, I submit, I'm ready to go. I'm submitted and I believe in it. Unfortunately, the theaters don't have resources to give feedback. I wish a rejection could come with feedback, you know, just a little, maybe a paragraph that said, not just because there's a form letter, James, you must have gotten it yourself at some point. It says,
no, actually,
thank you for submitting your work.
Keep going.
Never been rejected. This conversation's over.
No, I've given plenty of rejections, and that's where we can go from instead.
But you know what it says? Thank you for submitting your work to blah, blah, blah theater. We greatly enjoyed reading them. We had 652 submissions. We didn't choose your play for this festival. Please submit again. That's basically the letter I've seen 200 times. I know they've got 675 plays. I get it. But if they could say, you know, this is too long, or it doesn't go anywhere in the middle, something, then I could look at it, you know?
Well, let me all right. Well, fair enough. So let's
for their purposes.
No, and that's what I want to get into. Because again, because I like my playwriting itself. Most of my writing is screenplay. A lot of my, in regards to this podcast, really comes from a production standpoint, as being a producer and a director, and accepting original works. I have a one act that I wrote. I have a full length that is in a drawer, not necessarily physically, in a file that I break out every once in a while because, I'm just all over the place as far as like different aspects of the industry and whatnot. Now, the one thing that I will say, and this is not tooting my own horn by any means, because I understand where you're coming from. I think that through our exchanges, yours and mine, that you get the gist that it's personalized. There's no form from my point of view. I will never, when I accept a submission, because again, you didn't hear anything from me. Somehow your submission for Noir got lost in where normally it was like, hey, thank you for submitting The Bee's Knees. We look forward to reading it. We're planning on, making decisions by this point. And if there's anything that stands out, I'll also throw that in, but it's always going to be personalized based on what they have. Is there going to be some kind of form? Yeah, maybe. When it comes to rejections, I will do the same thing. And especially because more often than not, and this is what I want to get into with you as well, in the possibility that maybe this is an issue, not on your end. And I don't mean to sound like that. I cannot tell you, because Noir is very specific. You're familiar with the genre, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are not. I cannot tell you every year how many plays that I get submitted or that get submitted to me are not Noir, not even close. And it's a matter of making sure that the work that you're submitting is appropriate to whatever you're submitting to. And so I will do that. I'm like, look, hey, I thank you for submitting this piece. Unfortunately, it doesn't fall into the category of Noir. I highly recommend you research it because it's a very unique genre and you're going to learn a lot. Go watch The Maltese Falcon. Go watch The Third Man. Go watch The Big Sleep, because you're going to gain so much. Do we always want the stereotypical, private detective, femme fatale, the big heavy? Yes, but not necessarily in the traditional sense. I always try to do 2 comedies, 2 traditional, and 2 like neo-noir. But there's playwrights out there where they have this mentality that are like, well, my writing's so good that they'll take it anyways. Maybe they'll read it and they'll put it in.
Educate me, James. Educate me. Look, I in no way, shape, or form think I have any knowledge of Noir. I took a concept, and by the way, your emails are the most fantastic email. I may write a play about your emails, James. That's how good your emails are. And I told you that in the last correspondence.
Yes, you did.
They're so perfectly ordered and typed and thoughtful. Wow. I wish they were all like that. I'm not blowing smoke. Great.
Oh, no, I don't take it that way at all.
So you like The Bee's Knees, you don't like The Bee's Knees, you don't think it fits, it doesn't matter. I learned a lot and I had a blast writing it. And that's a one-off. You asked me, how do you submit? What do you do? Scour the internet. So the other kind of contest, I mentioned 80%.
Yeah.
The other 20% are what I call one-offs. Write a play about this. It's all right. Sound of a job opening, James. Sound of a job opening. Write a play about this. About, very specific. 2 aliens come to a park bench. They feed a squirrel. They fall in love, and all 3 go run for the United Nations. Write a play about this, and that's what I call a one-off. And I haven't been satisfied with my writing, but when I started writing Owl in Bee's Knees, I started giggling. I said, this is just so out there. I've not won a one-off contest, but Sondheim, not to compare myself with Sondheim, But Sondheim used to say, I can't write a love song and tell you I love you. I love you. You love me. I can't write that. Nor do I want to write that. It's mundane and it's beneath my concept of writing. But if you need a song about a woman with one leg who plays championship polo in Peru, I can write that. And that's how I feel sometimes.
Sure.
Okay, you need this. Give me 4 weeks.
Sure.
So when I saw your Noir, I said, I can't do the third man. Orson Welles can only do the third. I can't. That's not me. You have to recognize your gifts and your weaknesses. But I can take Winnie the Pooh and make this work. And who knows? Maybe somebody be tickled by this. I don't know. So I submitted it.
Sure. No, absolutely. And here's the one thing that I will give you that very few playwrights have taken advantage of, and I always encourage them to. I'm like, look, I'm giving you, once I do the call for submissions, I'm giving you 2 months. I think that 2 months is a long enough time. If you don't have a noir, because I've got playwrights that reach out to me, well, I don't have any noir plays. Then write one. You've 8 weeks for a one act is not.
No,
it's
that's
not
what
hard.
I did. That's what I did. When I saw your contest, I took a couple of days, contemplated. No, maybe I shouldn't do this. And then in my algorithm on Facebook, Winnie the Pooh characters enter public domain. I said, hold on. And my brain works that way, So, I wrote it.
Sure, but at the same time, even if they weren't, you still could have pulled it off because in a way, it's parody. You're never going to. There's not going to be there's no Disney film out there that's got.
Wait, I have to clarify. The Disney Winnie the Pooh characters are not in public domain. The A.A.
of course,
Milne characters. So there's no gopher. There's no whatever they did with it. I don't know. But.
Yeah. Well, was there a difference?
Yeah, there is a difference.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. They're still named the same, aren't they not?
Yeah, they are. And I just said, screw it,
Well, there you go. That's great.
But anyway, the process is everything, James. The process is everything. I have a good acting support group. Unfortunately, I thought about self-producing, and I'm at a point in my life at 102 years old where self-producing might be a reality. The problem is my actors are scattered across 4 states. There's no central place, where I am and they are. So that's kind of a problem. I got to find a place. So,
well, here's the thing. Let's go into that because we've brought this up, and I think that I'm a big supporter of self-producing. I think it's more accessible nowadays than people realize. I don't believe in. Here's a prime example. You're the people that we're not doing new works, and then they do it because they can.
Right.
So and I always encourage people, don't get rid of the gatekeepers. Don't let people tell you what you don't want to do. Like, Amen. For instance, there's actors out there, and I started out with this in this aspect, and it kind of was where when I was married, we had this, it's like, what are the roles you want to do? What are the roles that you want to do? If you want to play Nora in a doll's house, then go play Nora in a doll's house. Stop, letting people tell you no of what you want to do. You can do it. Especially with younger students, because they have that network. They have people that are studying tech. They know directors. They know fellow actors. So even though that your people are scattered out, that's not a good reason not to do it.
No, you're right.
I'm sure that I would love these people. I would love this person who's in this state and this person in that state. But I guarantee you there's people out there. And as far as venues go, that I guess it depends on what your goal is, because it's the market. We have this idea that it's got to be New York, Chicago, LA, but like there was just one of my last interviews was Israel Reyes Lopez, and he writes. He grew up in Norwalk in Southern California, and he writes about his community, which is brilliant because it's an automatic market. It's like, hey, I'm writing this about us. Come check it out. Now, the great thing about it as well is that even though he's writing about Norwalk, those same issues apply in other towns, but he's containing it in this particular market. And we don't have to be. Like you may have more success in a smaller market than in a bigger market like LA where it's oversaturated. So I would say go forth and find it. You know, the theaters here, like going back and you were saying like how theaters kind of dwindled. Like I live in what was considered the North Hollywood Arts District. It's not anymore. So many theaters have closed around here.
Yeah,
there's only a handful that are still open, and hopefully there's some in your area, and hopefully it's a smaller market to where what might be $1,200 to $1,500 a weekend or a night even might be in your area. It might be $600 a weekend for a 3-night run for like a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday matinee. You know, and does it have to be 4 weeks? Nah, maybe if you want to get reviewed. Do you have a?
They'll get revenge.
When you were reviewing, did it have to be a certain? Did the run have to be a certain?
Yes, length.
No, not necessarily length. More like, did it have to run a certain amount of time? Like, I'm sorry, week wise, because you don't want to do a 1 week run. You can't have somebody come out review a play on a Friday, and the review is going to come out on Monday. Well, the show's already over.
Well, see, I wrote for a lot of weeklies, so the play had to run at least 3 weeks.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I would go see final previews, final dress, or the opening night, press night, review it for the next week, and then people that weekend could decide, and at least the following weekend, and usually 2 weekends. They usually would run a month.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I take your advice to heart. I'm at a point. I had a health issue a couple of years ago, and I'm better now.
Glad to hear it.
And I was like, wow, okay, start writing. And then one of my plays came to me in a dream, James. That's what started this off.
Great.
About 3 years ago, we stay in monasteries, by the way, my wife and I. We stay in monasteries. We don't go to hotels. We'll probably never stay in a hotel again after the pandemic. We prefer monasteries because silence, I can write. There are libraries I can read. You can meditate, pray if you want. They feed you 3 gourmet meals a day for the price less than a hotel room. Marvelous. So we went to a monastery called Dalesford Abbey in Paoli, Pennsylvania. And they had a lecture on Veronica. This is a Catholic thing. I don't want to get into any of this.
Sure, fair enough.
I'm a recovering Catholic, okay? So I have a lot of, I was a former altar boy. I had a lot of issues, not with faith, but with religion, a lot of issues.
Sure.
And there was a lecture about Veronica. Veronica doesn't appear in the Bible. She's in the 6th station of the Catholic cross. She's the woman who put the veil on Christ's face, and his image came off from the veil.
Right.
Incredibly theatrical thing. So I went home, I fell asleep, and I'm in a theater alone. And there's a play on stage. The whole first scene, it's terrific. And I'm like, whoa. And I wake up and I remember, what was that in full color? And I do what every good Catholic does, ex-Catholic. I ignored it. A month went by, James, on my children. A month went by. I fell into the dream. And now I've got popcorn. I'm still alone in the theater, but I've got popcorn. I swear to God, this is true. The first 3 scenes on stage, the same first scene that I saw, and 2 more, and Pontius Pilate in the wings anxiously awaiting his entrance, okay? I get up, James, and I go, okay, I get it. You want me to write this? I wrote it in 9 weeks. It just poured out of me. I ran it by people. They think it's terrific, but they said, no one's going to do this. This is a religious play. It's Christ affirming. No one's going theater. It's sort of a left, right, generally speaking, always dangerous to generalize, but you're going to have to sell this to a down south Christian theater. And even they haven't chosen it. But my point is, I wrote it in 9 weeks. It poured out of me. I hadn't written a play in 30 years. And I said, I got to do this again. And so I've written 12 plays in 3 years.
Well, and congratulations. And again, I mean, that's a testament to sticking it out. Number one, and I think it's a testament as well that, no pun intended on the Catholicism about being a testament, that and this isn't a comment on age, by the way, as well, but it's never too late with certain things.
I know.
I
pitch it when I can.
Yeah.
I've got another actor in Virginia, again, very generous actors, very generous. I know I sounded like I was slighting the industry.
No.
Some individuals have been generous, and Noel, thank you. He's in Virginia. Yeah. I saw a headshot of this guy. He writes religious musicals. I saw a headshot and I said, man, this guy's got to play pilot. He's got to play pilot in my show. So we started messaging back and forth. He said, send me the play. I sent him the play. He says, I got to play pilot. I got to play pilot. And he's trying to pitch it down there. But again, he's an actor with not any pull. So they're scattered. I'm not giving up, James. I'm not giving up.
No, and I don't think you should. And look, I mean, if it's a matter of, there's, again, it's more accessible these days than we realize that, it's like, okay, well, if it's fundage, if it's about getting this guy who's in Virginia to come to Rhode Island, if that's where you're at, Rhode Island?
Yep.
Okay. To come to Rhode Island, well, then let's crowdfund. We're going to make this happen. If you contribute $100, we're going to give you 2 free tickets to this gala event opening, whatever. There's so many different opportunities now that I just don't think. And again, like I was saying, quit waiting for other people to give you permission for what you want to do. Going back to I want to touch base on the religious aspect. I don't know if you're familiar with A Man for All Seasons.
Yes.
About Sir Thomas More. That's
I
perfectly brilliant.
Yeah.
It's about him standing up against Henry VIII as far as like, I'm not going to grant you an annulment or divorce or whatever it is. So, forget that whole religious stuff. You put it out there. It's going to resonate with somebody. You're not going to be, you're not going to be able to, no pun intended again with religion, you're not going to be able to please the masses.
But James, you know what I find very interesting? This is the 5 days after the crucifixion told sideways from another perspective.
Sure.
That kind of work does well. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead as Hamlet from the side perspective.
Yep.
Wicked is the Wizard of Oz from the side perspective.
Yeah, sure.
Isn't there a sensational play on Broadway this year? John Proctor is the villain. John Proctor is the villain. It created a minor sensation in New York.
Wow.
It's the Crucible sideways. So this is the crucifixion from the side.
Sure.
And from that aspect, it's an interesting, because there are 4 scenes between Pilate and his wife Procula, the purveyor of dreams.
Sure.
They're the juiciest dialogue, just poetic. Actors and actresses are going, yes. So there's that. So
two things I want to touch on before we wrap up. I'm intrigued about how this staying at monasteries works.
Well, I don't know what you got in California, man. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I'm kind of intrigued. I'm like, well, I mean, we've got missions and stuff like that. We got missions up and down the Camino Real.
We stayed at a mission in Carmel. Hundreds of years old. It's gorgeous. So check that out. Missions first. But what I do is I type monasteries near me. Okay, I'll drive as much as 6 hours, which will get me to southern Pennsylvania or southern New Jersey. And we found 4 or 5, and some of them feed you. I'm talking about gorgeous chef meals. Some of them don't. You have a kitchen, you bring your own food. And they range from, there's one in Petersham, Mass, that ranges, you can give them $40 for the night, to about $140 for a couple in Pennsylvania. In that range, usually around $100 for the night, 3 meals a day, and all the solitude and library books and writing space you could ever want. It's great.
I mean, are you jumping on like hotels.com to find these places? Or you just like go tap on the doors like, hey, my car broke down the road.
No, James, monasteries near me.
Okay.
Monasteries near me. You'll find all kinds. Buddhist,
right.
You'll find Buddhist, you'll find, I don't know what, Hindu,
right.
You'll find mostly Christian monasteries.
Sure.
Norbertine, Benedictine monks.
Right.
Oh, that's another thing. They have vespers and chanting every morning. That's a hoot. You get up early and it's they hit each other with a hair shirt. And, no, I'm kidding. They don't do that. But they chant, and it's lovely. And it's all marble and stone and large spaces, and it's just edifying, pun intended with edifice, edifying to write there.
With your, the final question, with your degree in English and American literature, did you study playwriting as well? Did you take a playwriting course? Or you just based on your experience reviewing and directing, it's just like, I'm going to take a lead.
I helped with a few lyrics in a Hasty Pudding show, uncredited, when I was at Harvard. And I wrote a couple of dormitory shows, just combination of skits for laughs, because we were bored. And I got laughs with musical interludes. It was like a little variety show.
Sure.
You do a couple of skits making fun of the dean and, the political issues there. And then you'd have a musical, you'd play a Tom Lehrer song with, perverted lyrics. And then another skit. You do 30 minutes and then you'd have dinner, and it was fun. It got us through exams, But that was about it. Nothing serious, no.
Well, and real quick, I said that these last 2 things, but the one thing I did want to touch on as well, because I think it's important, because we talked about rejections. I want to talk about, tell me about your successes and where they came from and how they came, where they came from and how they came to be. What was it that and how? Yeah, with your playwriting, you said you had 4 successes.
Well, we mentioned them at the beginning. I'd be repeating myself. It was one of my plays won the contest at the Loudon Center.
So was that just because you were submitting to these different festivals and it just
submitted? Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Unless you got any inside information you want to give me in one of your prescient emails, I'm all for it, James.
Hey, look, I'm always. If I
in
hear
Rhode Island, James, we have an expression. I'm sorry, we have an expression in Rhode Island. I know a guy. It's mafia based. I know a guy. So if you know a guy, let me know and I'll send him something.
Well, I'll tell you what, that I do come across certain opportunities that do come up around here. There are still some theater companies that are still active that do have like not production, but developmental workshops and things like that. Like the Road Theater Company does that. And
I may have submitted to some Los Angeles theaters and not been accepted. I'd have to go I keep a list. I'd have to look.
Well, again, I think the important thing to realize as well, it's like sometimes, they take like as little as 8, and so it's like, I'm not going to deny it. It's hard, but I think it's the tenacity and perseverance that keeps it going. And again, I give that testament to you that you've kept it going and you keep at it. So,
well, somebody has to.
I hope that that motivation and inspiration will resonate with some of our listeners and certainly me as well.
I just want to. I have one goal left in theater. I know I have a dozen plays out there, but I want to sit back like I used to do as a director, knowing the play is directed in good hands. It's got the right cast. It works in rehearsals. And I just want to sit back and hear it and see it.
Sure.
That's all. That's it.
Absolutely. It'll happen. It'll happen soon. Well, James Merolla, thank you for coming on to this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Wait, no, I have three more important questions. We're not wrapping this up yet. First
the
question.
answers are yes, no, and sometimes on a Wednesday afternoon. Go.
Fair enough. What are you working on right now?
So, I just finished my shortest play. It's probably 20 minutes. It's called Pig's Feet. Not Pig's Feet, Pig's Feet.
Okay.
F-E-A-T. Again, in my algorithm, there's contests, they want 15-minute plays. Okay, I have to write shorter. So there was this woman named Peggy Peig Sayer, Irish, a force, illiterate. She memorized 375 village stories in Ireland. They are the most unhappy, brutal, traumatizing stories that the children were forced to read in the Irish curriculum to learn Irish, the native Irish. And I just read this. I said, has there ever been a play about Pig Sayer? No. Great. I've got to make an absurd one act about this where instead of the kids they don't enjoy it. They're tortured in the Catholic tradition by having to read these plays. These awful stories, hear them, and it's pretty funny, pretty dark, pretty funny. I'm working on that.
I like it. Where can people find your work?
I don't have a site. I have one son who's an IT genius. Maybe I should, when he hears this, he'll say, James, I've been telling you this for years.
Okay. Well, I will give you this resource as well, because that's why I had to reach out to you is regarding your bio, because sometimes I'll just go to New Play Exchange. So it's a great resource. You can upload your work right there. You give a breakdown what the story is about, how many characters, how many different actors, actresses you need. So newplayexchange.org, I believe. So take advantage of that.
I've heard of it. I've hesitated. I'm waiting for someone to tell me what the downside is.
It's oversaturated. It's oversaturated. So getting your stuff. Again, there's thousands upon thousands, probably tens of thousands. That's the only downside I could say.
James, you've seen and heard my charm, right? You see how much better I am individually. If I go to NPX, it's going to get lost in the ether. I'm kidding.
Maybe not. I say still stick with it. Don't wait for people to give you permission to do what you already want to do.
Thank you.
And finally, are you on the socials?
I'm grandpa, James. I don't do XYZ. I don't do Instagram. I don't do Instakilo. I don't do any of that. I have Facebook, Jamie Merolla, and that's it at the moment. That's
Fair
it.
Enough. And finally, oh, wait, you guys already played on Thursday, didn't you?
Played.
Your Patriots.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't know we were going to go there.
I was going to, because when I was looking for thumbnail photos, I saw you in your New England Patriots jersey. So I was going to wish you luck tomorrow. As long as you weren't playing the Vikings.
Well, you mentioned Minnesota. That still hurts, James. That photograph is from the 2019 Super Bowl, where we went to Minnesota to play the Eagles, and Belichick refused to play Malcolm Butler for whatever reason that has still not been explained, and we lost. Tom Brady threw for 505 yards, never been done, and we should have won. We lost, and that was that game. And thanks for bringing it up. I really
well, I already had a playwright on who wrote a play about when the Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's
so maybe you can write a play about that.
If the Patriots do not win the Super Bowl, I root for the Bills and the Cleveland Browns because they're so pitiful.
I'm not too far
the
behind.
Detroit Lions, those
Yep.
three, been around forever, and they have nothing to show for it.
Wow.
I'm not gloating. I'm not gloating. James,
I
I go back. I told you I'm ancient. I go back to Sullivan Stadium. They had aluminum benches.
Oh,
Aluminum bench. You know how hard in 12-degree January an aluminum bench is?
I can imagine.
I have no gluteus maximus. It was left on those benches, James. Okay, it's gone.
It's the equivalent of putting your tongue on a frozen pole.
I suffered through 45 years of them being horrible. I think 45 years more.
Classic.
So I've had my penance. I'm Catholic again. My penance.
Well, here's to playwriting and a great rest of the football season.
Skol.
Thanks for coming on to this episode of Playwright Spotlight.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Playwright Spotlight. Again, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and share the show with a friend. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, and until we see each other again, keep writing.